I am Henry.
Hi everyone, and I'm Maureen.
Welcome to the Happy Workplaces podcast, the show where we explore what it really takes to create joy, meaning and freedom at work. Today I'm delighted to welcome Jeanette Browning, a leading voice on wellbeing, leadership and the future of work. Jeanette challenges burnout culture and reframes self-care as a leadership practice, helping organisations create high performance with humanity at the centre.
Love that. It's going to be a different kind of conversation.
It is, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And, especially when you think about burnout as a big thing. We don't really talk about it, do we?
Yeah, we don't.
So looking forward to this. So before we start then, what's giving you joy, Henry?
Well, I went to the Denton and Gorton by-election for the Greens.
Oh, okay.
So I went on Sunday and Monday, and it's the by-election today.
Oh.
Yes. So could it be Greens by-election, or could it be Reform, or could it be Labour?
Oh.
Yes.
Who's going to know? Okay, so you're waiting for the votes to come in.
Waiting for the votes to come in, absolutely.
Okay, I'll listen out for that. Where is that?
It's in Manchester.
Oh, it's in Manchester. There you go. All right. Sorry for the ignorance. I'm a Londoner.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to go look in the map now. You watch. Okay. So me.
You.
Me? What's giving me joy?
Yeah, what's giving you joy?
What's giving me joy? I was just thinking back and I couldn't remember whether I had shared me going to the art exhibition. See, I'm getting very cultured, Henry.
Yes.
So trying different things. But I went to, and I do this every year, I go to the Winter Lights at Canary Wharf.
Oh, really?
I do this every year because I love it. I love creativity, just looking at what people create. And it was magnificent as always.
I've never gone to the Winter Lights.
No, you need to go, Henry. It's
right, okay.
It's great in expression, art expressed in via lights. One of my favourites is seeing a waterfall of lights. So it's like a waterfall and then there's light images of words. And I'll have to put the video on, and everybody's just shouting out the word when they see it in the waterfall and it disappears.
Oh, right.
It's really good. It's great. But normally I'm a last minute person.
Yeah.
So when I go last minute, then there's space and I can walk around. I went early, so in the first week, and I felt like I was on Oxford Street. It was packed. Everybody was there, and everybody, the kids, the prams, the dogs, everybody was there. But that's how great it is. It's becoming a big thing, and everybody enjoyed it. But it was a fantastic show, and I can't wait to the next year.
Excellent. I will go.
Go. Yeah, I'll take you.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. In the self-care mindset, Jeanette Browning challenges the idea that self-care is about recovery from work, instead positioning it as a leadership responsibility that shapes how work is designed. Her thinking reframes burnout as a systems issue, not an individual failing, and invites leaders to examine expectations, boundaries, and ways of working. Rather than asking people to be more resilient, Jeanette asks organisations to be more human, creating cultures where energy, clarity, and purpose drive sustainable performance, not exhaustion. And as someone from Denmark, how did you view Donald Trump's remarks about Greenland?
It makes me sad, actually, because the Greenland people have for so long deserved their sovereignty and their identity as the people that they are, and so on and so forth. And they've always been open to collaboration. So I think they deserve our respect and keep their identity as the people they are without being asked to sell their country.
Yes.
So
you left your previous fashion and retail career. You founded Path for Life in 2004 to expect what it truly takes to thrive rather than just survive. So what was your retail career?
Well, my retail career was very much about the hustle, but it was also about the excitement, right? So it was interesting, right? Because there's this part of it that says, well, we hustle because we have to do all this, but there was also a lot of fun being in the fashion industry. However, I also felt there was a true lack of respect for humans and human needs and so on and so forth.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was just, if you don't do it, I'll get somebody else to do it. it.
Oh, really?
It wasn't worth it. And I felt that people were solving what I called the wrong problem, right?
Yeah.
Because as much as I believe that how we dress ourselves is part of our self-expression and it's part of making us feel happy or feel confident or whatever it does for us to help create that identity that we as human beings call our personality and our character and so on and so forth. It also felt that there was a false promise that if you wear this, you will have a certain status, but it was lacking this inner confidence and the inner sense of self. It was all put on the outside. So there's two sides to that kind of environment. And what I found was that the human inside, all the clothes and all the fashion was what I was really much more interested in than what they were looking like on the outside.
Right.
And additionally, I lost both my parents to cancer. So it was time for me to rethink my own life.
Wow. So in your work, you say burnout isn't a personal failure, but a systems issue. But you previously had 2 burnouts.
Yeah, that's how I know.
Yes.
I had my burnouts when I was in the fashion industry. And when I was younger, I burned out simply because I didn't understand the human needs that I need sleep and I need all of those things. Because again, the system was designed around long nights and overnights and things like that to get it done.
Right. Okay.
And nobody was saying, hello, let's figure out a better schedule here instead of like last minute everything that makes us having to work all night. And then the second time around was when I was losing my parents and I was both a caregiver. So I was caregiving, I was figuring out my work and so on and so forth. And this idea that we can handle everything, we just need to spend time better or hack time or be more efficient. That has to include downtime. It has to include recovery. And I think of it as regenerative energy, essentially, at this point in time. And we need to build that into our systems and respect that as part of how we work, not just a solo responsibility, but a collective responsibility in a way, because we all need it.
Yeah. And tell me about your parents with cancer.
Yeah, I was at what I would consider the height of my career. I was an executive vice president at a fashion company that was really, really taking off and one of the most important, interesting designers at the time. And my dad called one day. He goes, I have good news and I have bad news. What do you want to hear first? And I said, well, let me hear the good news first. And he said, our shares that we had bought together went up in whatever. And I was like, okay, that's good. Now tell me the bad news. And he goes, I have cancer and I have to sell the shares to pay for my treatment. I was like, okay, wait a minute. You packed cancer in there? Let's just talk about the cancer piece, not the shares and the money. But it was his way of trying to sort of make a little bit of light of it. And then while he was going through treatment, about 3 months into his treatment, my mother was diagnosed also with cancer. So all of a sudden I have both of them in cancer therapy or treatment in 2 different countries, actually, because I brought my dad to New York for him to get treatment here. And my mother was getting treatment in Denmark. Unfortunately, she also died from her treatment.
Wow.
She had radiation damage. So she actually passed while he was on a flight back to New York to continue his treatment.
Wow.
It was probably, I would say, the worst day of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Also because I was on the phone, I was at work and I called my mom and I said, when is dad arriving? And she could barely speak. And my goodbye with her was basically saying, hurry up and get into an ambulance. But I didn't get to say goodbye, So it was a learning. It was definitely a lesson about pausing more and paying attention to what goes on around me instead of just thinking that work is everything. I realized it wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah. I was ambitious and thought that they were going to be okay, but
Oh, you thought they were going to be okay?
I thought they were going to be okay. I didn't realize my mother was that sick when she said, I can't come back to New York right now. I have to stay in Denmark. I'm not feeling good. Nobody realized that she had radiation damage. But had we asked more questions, perhaps we could have. We don't know. It's all of these looking back and saying, if I had paid more attention, could I have helped them out? And I think those are fair enough questions to ask, but also not so that I can beat myself up in regret, but so that I can learn how to pay more attention in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell me about power pausing.
Yes. Well, that's a good lead-in, power pausing, right?
Yes.
You know, because throughout my life, I was always about next, what's next, what's next. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
all
yeah.
about, I was excited and discovery and blah, blah, blah. Like I was always like, I'm so excited for everything. And I remember one time we were seeing a preview or something like that to a movie while we were about to watch a movie. And I would say something to my dad about, I can't wait and he was like, well, can we just watch this one first? What's wrong with this moment? Or he would always ask me what I was chasing.
Yeah.
And so it became apparent after being the caregiver for my dad that pausing was how we connect. I knew mindfulness. I had studied Buddhism. So there was all that. But to me, that was sort of like separate. And then I realized when I was caregiving for my dad, I realized that no. We need to bring this into our daily lives. And that's the systems change I'm talking about. So that it's not just about, we need more time off, but actually we need more pause so that we humans can connect better with each other. But I also think that it starts with connecting with ourselves. So power pausing is 3 stages, basically,
Okay.
of pausing. And it creates that gap in time where we have the opportunity to make a new choice instead of just running on automatic. Because I think a lot of times what we humans are so conditioned to do is to respond fast, have the answer,
Yeah.
the knowledge economy, so to speak, or this idea of the knowledge generation, right? I'm the knowledge generation. I'm a boomer. But I always say I'm
Right.
a boomer with a Gen Z mindset, not the
Oh.
slang. I don't understand the slang, but I love technology and stuff like that. I come from that generation of being experts and knowing and things like that.
Yes.
And the pause allows us to wonder if that's true. It allows us to wonder if there's more, if there's something else, if there's another perspective, if there's another way of solving this problem. So I think of that pause, that gap in time, both as a way for us to pause ourselves so we don't just do what we've always done and assume we know, assume we have the answer, but also a pause where we can connect with others and solve problems together. So the 3 stages of power pausing is that physical pause where we actually pause the nervous system instead of doing the automatic hamster wheel in our
Okay.
minds and really sort of be like, wait, where's my thinking at? Where's my mind at right now? And the second pause is more like, how am I feeling? What are the emotions that are coming up? Because I feel that if we don't actually acknowledge that, right now I'm actually really nervous or I'm a little tense or I'm a little this and that, we're going to respond from that place. But if we can respond from a place of more curiosity and clarity and compassion for that matter, so that we can be more constructive, which then brings us to the third stage where we're actually in that mindset of problem solving, of curiosity, of collaboration, where we can actually work better with other people and create this atmosphere of let's solve these problems and figure out what we can do about it. The second stage of the pause is really where we can connect both with ourselves, but also with each other, because research is showing that if people feel listened to, the oxytocin releases in the system, but it's also the serotonin. And so it's actually part of us feeling better when we acknowledge how we feel and when we listen to other people with that sense of attention, the curious attention, instead of that critical mindset that we tend to be in when we're under stress.
And your father told you that the most important skill in life is to listen, truly listen, isn't that?
Yeah.
You say it has changed your life.
Yeah. He said there's a difference between listening with your head and looking for what's not working and listen with your heart. So it was this idea. He always said, listen with your heart, because you want to listen to what people are not saying, what's between the words, because they will speak from a place potentially of fear or trying to have the right answer or whatever it is. But if you truly want to connect, you need to actually pause and listen more deeply. You need to listen more to what the human wants to say, not just what the mind thinks is the right answer.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't quite learn all these lessons until I started truly understanding myself more after the loss. I had to really dive in and be like, what are all these things? A lot of it came through while we were having conversations when he was dying. One of the conversations would be about, what does success really look like and feel like? What does it really mean to us to be successful? That it must include a good life, not just a successful career. And you probably heard a lot of times people, when they're dying, they don't talk about how much money they have
No.
or what they achieved. They talk about the humans in their lives that have mattered to them. the things we've done together and the memories we've shared and so on and so forth. And so it became apparent to me that to truly listen to other people, I would learn more about them and myself as well.
Right. Wow.
And I think also the listening to ourselves without the critical mindset of what's not working. The way the mind thinks is very often focused on what's wrong.
Right. So tell me on your book about AAA, knowledge, accept, ask.
Yes. That's part of that. I call it the why not mindset. We are asking why not questions. So when we're under stress, when we're not pausing, when we're just running on the hamster wheel, we are very much in the what's not working mindset. I call that the pothole. We're stuck in the pothole of what's not working.
Right.
Because the way the mind works is that we're asking questions all the time. And most of those questions are in forms of questions that we're looking for an answer. This idea of listening more means also looking for the questions that could allow us to dive deeper. But for the AAA, it's what I call get out of the pothole method. And so if we can acknowledge how we feel instead of just trying to either bypass it or tell ourselves we're wrong to feel, we actually need to use that as information. That pothole, I call it the pothole of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And we're always trying to navigate this pothole. We can get really stuck in that pothole of FUD, where fear, uncertainty, and doubt floods our nervous system, which is basically what stress and survival mode is all about. But if we can acknowledge those fears and actually use them as information instead of just being like, it'll be fine, or whatever we say to each other. The one I love the most is when we tell an anxious person to calm down, it'll be fine. It's probably the last thing
Yes,
that,
it is.
that person is now going to feel like, okay, I'm fully on my own trying to figure this out because I don't trust that it's going to be fine. That's my whole point of being anxious. So we have to acknowledge instead of just suppress it, but we also have to avoid getting stuck in it. And we do that by accepting the circumstances for what it is. A lot of times we wish it was different. We regret what we've done. We shoulda, coulda, woulda ourselves. But if we can accept the situation we're in or can accept the pothole instead of getting stuck in it, we can then ask, that's the last of the AAA, we can then ask, what do I need so that I can? It's this idea of saying, well, what do I need so I can get past that pothole towards what it is that I'm trying to achieve and align with the purpose and the mission of these decisions that we're trying to make, or the progress we're trying to make, or the actions we're trying to make. And so if we can acknowledge how we feel and use that as information, accept the circumstances for what it is, and then we can ask better questions that help us move forward. And so that it doesn't just become activity, trying to fix a pothole, it becomes action and momentum because it's actually driving us forward, aligned with what we're trying to achieve instead of avoiding what we don't want to feel.
And tell us about one story. I think you had some stories in the book about acceptance, ask.
Yeah, I do. The biggest lesson for me around this, so I knew this principle from having studied Buddhism, because in Buddhism, it is a lot about accepting. Acceptance is the power.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Acceptance is very much the power of taking our power back, taking our sense of agency back, because we outsource our power all the time. And we outsource our power of choice by not accepting the circumstances for what it is. But if we do, we have the ability to make choices. But the moment I really, really learned this was when my dad and I were sitting. We knew he was dying. We just didn't know when. We knew it was happening. We didn't have a timeline. We had like 3 to 6, whatever, but who knows what that looks like, right? So there was a lot of fear and there was a lot of anxiety, and every day listening to see if he was awake before I walked into the bedroom, because I was scared that I was going to walk in and he was gone. And every night we said goodbye just in case, and
Oh, wow.
things like that. It was stretching my human capacity and my resilience, my emotional resilience to its utmost edges. But at some point, we had to acknowledge how scared we were. We couldn't just pretend where we were fine. We both had to acknowledge how scared we were, how sad we were, how upset we were, how we felt, because it was also a little bit of like he wasn't diagnosed in time. So there was a little bit of that. It feels a little bit like both my parents could have potentially, but they didn't. And that's the acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
When the moment we could accept that, yes, maybe we could have made different choices. We could have asked more questions, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but we didn't. And it sounds harsh, But that moment where we decided or accepted, well, you are dying, we could then ask, how do we make this time we have left together the best it can be? What do we need so we can do that? What does that look like? What does good look like when you're dying? Like when you know you're dying, what does good look like every day, right? And so it completely transformed our conversations, and it taught me so much about focusing on what do we need so that we can do whatever it is we want to do, make the best out of this day. But we have to acknowledge first how we feel. And we have to go through that process of truly accepting the circumstances, the losses, the challenges, whatever it is that the conditions are that we tend to get stuck wishing we had done differently. We didn't. And I know that sounds really harsh, but the moment we can accept that, not only can we forgive ourselves and give ourselves some compassion, but we can also make a new choice.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about your dad was dying. And did you have a dying friend? Did you have something like that?
No, I had somebody come in and talk to us about the dying process.
Oh,
Yeah. It was one of my teachers and one of my mentors, and he actually did end of life care. So I knew he knew. He could show me, he could teach me. But I didn't want to have that information alone. I wanted my dad to hear it too. I wanted my dad to learn about the dying process so that he could feel a little bit more prepared. And it was a strange conversation, but it was a very, very powerful one, especially since I had my dad at home. He wasn't in a hospital. So I was the end of life care provider as well.
Wow.
So when you see somebody, the body is starting to shut down, being able to just sit with that and say, yes, dad, it's because you're dying and it's okay, that allowed him to relax as well instead of being scared. It sounds crazy when you talk about it, but the lesson of human resilience when care is in the room was just incredible. And one of the things that truly just changed how I look at myself, my relationship with myself and my relationship with other people was when my dad said, stop being so busy taking care of me. I want you to come here, sit down. I don't care if it's dusty, as long as I'm comfortable. Sit down, hold my hand, and talk to me. I want to know that you care about me.
Oh.
And it was this difference between caring for people and caring about people that really resonated with me. Because I think if we see a lot of leaders burning out, thinking that they have to care for people, taking away their pain, making them feel better, and so on and so forth. Yes, you care as a leader, but actually caring about people is a conversation, and it actually gives the responsibility and the agency back to the individual. Instead of telling them what they should do, we can ask them questions about, well, what do you need so that you can do X, Y, and Z, what it is you're trying to do? And that was a conversation my dad had also taught me when I was a young leader. He said, instead of telling people what they're doing wrong and asking them why are they not doing something, ask them what they need so that they can do it. And the conversation changes. And I realized, this is a conversation I've already used as a leader with my team. What do you need so that you can X, Y, and Z? And it gave them back agency to go do their job and just use me as their support, their mentor, their co-thinker in the problem-solving capacity. But it was them that solved the problem, and it made them trust themselves more. It made them feel better about themselves. And it made them feel that they were committed and contributing. They were doing the work rather than just executing what I told them to do.
Absolutely.
And that was just so powerful.
Wow. So why has exhaustion become normalized, even rewarded in leadership culture?
I think we've built and tried to scale a broken system for a very long time. It's like it started with the Industrial Revolution, right? We started implementing machines, and all of a sudden people had to keep up with the pace of the machines. Like, I think we've all seen the film where they're trying to stuff chocolate in their mouths because they can't pack them fast enough because the machine is running faster than they can actually pack the chocolate. I forget what that movie was, but I think you know which one I'm talking about, right? And it's like this idea that we just have to keep up with that conveyor belt that's moving instead of adjusting the conveyor belt so that it actually matches the human speed, right? No, we got to run faster. And it was this idea that I think we still have and we still see as part of our mindset is that being human is a problem to fix. And I don't believe that's true. I believe that being human is an advantage to unlock and harness if we truly understand our human capabilities and our human capacity. And we need that now where we're working with AI. We need to understand how to co-create an AI human environment so that AI can scale for speed and humans can scale what it means to be human, which is about building human relationships. It's about innovation. It's about discovery. It's about collaboration and creation and all of those things that we humans have the discerning judgment to be able to practice if we design the system to do so. And if we understand ourselves that we are indeed an advantage to harness and not a problem to solve. But again, it comes back to this why not mindset where we keep asking ourselves why we're not able to, why we're not good enough. This is the condition that we've been trained, is that being human is broken and we need fixing. And I think that's a lie that we're trying to live. And it's time that we stop this lie.
Absolutely.
And you talk about trusting people.
Yes.
I agree, right? It's this idea that can we actually trust people? If we believe people are broken and they need to be controlled and managed, we're never going to trust them. And they're never going to learn to trust themselves. They're never going to learn to rise to the challenge.
Yes. We believe in trust and culture and where people make their own decisions.
Yeah. And I saw this when I was a young leader. I was in a situation where my manager, the CEO of the company, told me I took over a department in a department store, and he said, get rid of all the old ladies and get some new blood in here. I looked around and I looked at people that had been there for many, many years, and I was a young leader. So instead, I went to them, and especially the oldest person in the department who was standing in the back, looked like a little gray mouse and just was like trying to disappear into the corner. And it did, to be honest, it did look like she was just staying there until she was going to retire. But I said to her, look, these are my ideas for this area that you manage. And you have seen customers walk by here for years. You have seen the changes. You know this, you know that. How do you think we can achieve that? And she looked at me like I had lost it. She's like, you're asking me? And I said, yes,
Yeah.
You have the information that I need as a leader. I can't do this without you. And so I engaged with her and kept asking her questions and asked for her input. And not only did the department change around, the sales increased.
Oh, wow.
The ideas were implemented. We started changing the products, and she flourished.
Did she?
She had more color. She was more engaged. She had energy. She was rising to the occasion.
Wow.
She was engaging and contributing, and she felt not only trusted, but she felt valued. She felt she mattered. And she did.
Absolutely, yes.
She became one of my best performers.
Wow.
Yes, because I acknowledged that she had the experience. And that's one of the things I think we need to make sure of, is that we're looking at co-creation in this new work environment of ours, where we're looking at young people and senior people or mature people like you and I, where we're saying, well, what can we teach each other? What can we teach each other? Because I think there's a lot of us, we can teach each other something.
Yeah. And 3 tips for a happy workplace.
Yes. The first one is to, as I said, before, about pausing and designing pause into not only how we work and give a little bit of space for regeneration, but also pause in the conversations. I think the pause in the conversations is where we become more inclusive and collaborative, and people feel they matter and their voices can be heard. And that might look like saying, hey, can we just pause on that? We're moving a little too fast. Let's give a little space before we move on to just see, is there a question we haven't asked? Is there something somebody wants to add? So that we're actually giving space to people and all the voices in the room that might not step in unless there is space to do so. And I think that makes people feel that they matter. And I think that's the first step to a happy workplace, is to make people feel valued and they matter. We know that people burn out, not because they're working too much, but because they're worrying too much, feeling that their work doesn't matter, that they don't have agency, and so on and so forth. So if we want to prevent burnout, it's not just about pausing to have time out. It's about pausing to show people they matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the first one for me. And then trust is the next one, right? That
Yes.
when we pause and show people they matter, we build trust. But we also need to build trust within people themselves. And we do that by asking more questions and by listening and creating more space to listen before we cut them down. And so that yes and dialogue, where instead of saying, yes, but what about this, this, and this, when they have a new idea, we're basically dismissing that they had an idea. But if we're saying, yes, and what about this, this, and this, then we're using the information to create collaboration. And then people can start trusting themselves more. And I think a happy workplace is a place where people trust themselves, not just each other.
Yes.
I think you can also agree probably that if we don't trust ourselves, it's really hard to trust other people.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And I think we don't talk about that enough. I don't think we talk about self-trust enough and how to actually cultivate that, which is what my book is about, is to really understand how to create that relationship with ourselves rather than only thinking about trust between people. I think we have to start with ourselves as well.
Yeah. And the third one?
The third one is to care about people. It's a conversation, right? And ask people, what do you need so that you can, and give them back that agency. I do think people flourish when they're being asked, what do you need so that you can, instead of just being told what to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what do you get from joy outside of work?
Oh, I love discovery. I'm a person who gets out there. I love going to new places. I love design and architecture. I love culture. I love nature. I love people. I love food. So just being somewhere where I can discover something new, learn something new, not necessarily from a book, but also from books, but the discovery of something new. I guess that's why I like the fashion business. There was something new every season, but there's discovery in many places. And one of my favorite is to talk to strangers. There's a lot of discovery when you just sit down and start picking up a conversation with a stranger and just ask questions and listen. And it brings me much joy.
Excellent.
Can I add one? Being with my dog.
Okay. That's excellent. Okay, how was that for you?
Oh, so interesting. I love it. I love having different conversations where it's not just about leadership as, work, so forth, but, the whole conversation about her father, the lessons that she learned, and it's all linked to leaderships and relationships that we have in work as well as generally in life. Really interesting. So much in there. So much. And on the back of it, power pausing. What a great concept.
Yes, indeed. So it's first stage, second stage, third stage. Pause the nervous system. What are the emotions that are coming up?
Yep.
And problem solving.
That's it. Ask the questions. And it's just so simply put, but makes you realize that actually it's okay to feel, but now you don't get stuck in it. And I think that was the key, not to get stuck in the emotion of it all.
Yes.
I love that. So much in there. Henry, I've got pages. I don't know, we're not going through. I've got pages. I'm not going through the pages. But there was lines in there where she was like, the human resilience grows from being in a room that cares.
Yes, absolutely.
The concept of trust as well, by simply asking questions. What else was coming up for you?
Well, for me, it's listening with your heart.
Yeah.
Pause and listen more deeply. Absolutely.
Totally. So therefore you're reading what's not being said rather than listening to the words that are trying to please the pleasing or solve problems, looking for problems. Do you know what was really extraordinary for me? Because when we ask our guests about free tips, and trust is one of the biggest things that always comes up.
Yes.
Really always comes up. But her take on the trust was in the sense of that, getting people to trust themselves.
Yes.
Which I don't think that we've never really had that.
No. Trust themselves, not just each other.
That's it.
Yeah.
I will go back and listen to that again. There were so many lovely, gorgeous nuggets in that.
Right.
I'm sure the listeners will really have enjoyed that.
Excellent. So we have digital skills. So we have an Excel intermediate based on 15th of April 2026. You will explore formulas, functions and shortcuts that make daily tasks quicker and clearer. And the next advanced based on 13th of May 2026. We will explore nested formulas.
Ooh.
Powerful lookups and advanced pivot table features.
Oh, I love the nested if. I do. So yes, please go and find out more. That we do so much more. We do our digitals as well as our happy workplaces and apprenticeships.
Yeah.
So please go online, check us out, see what else that we can offer you. or even contact us and see how we can support you.
Absolutely. So check out our happy.co.uk website and please put in reviews.
And in the meantime,
let us create
joy at work.
Joy at work, absolutely.